Hey guys, welcome back. Alright, so this is going to be my 2017 Summer of Knives videos. I'm going to try to make a couple of the series, and ideally this is based mostly on my opinion and my experiences. Now, my experiences being in the military, being a hunter, being a trekker, a backpacker, long distance hiker, I could tell you that a lot of this has to do with me personally. And if it's not your cup of tea, or if you think that I'm wrong, that's fine. Everybody has their own opinions. I have amassed a large quantity of knives throughout my 44 years on this earth, and I can tell you that ideally not one knife fits all. It just doesn't. Okay, so the reason I have these knives on the table is to show you a little bit today about the belt knife that I would use. Now, we're not talking SHTF, we're not talking bug out, we're talking belt knife. Belt knife to me, in my definition, is something that you can use every single day. You could either use it for processing wood, processing game, opening boxes, whatever the case may be. Now, I don't EDC these knives. This is not an everyday carry. This is specifically something that if I'm going to go out into the field, go out into the woods, go camping, I want a nice knife by my side. It doesn't have to be obtrusive or overly heavy, but just something I could use. Okay, so now my experience as an outdoorsman goes all the way from the ridiculous Middle East heat all the way to northern Hokkaido, Japan, which is the frozen tundra. Okay, so I have various experiences with hot and cold climates. And of course I live here in the Northeast, which varies in temperature every 6 months. So what I can tell you is based mostly on my experience. I'm going to go through these knives right here, and I hope you enjoy the series. Okay, so a lot of the knives you see here are what I consider to be a belt knife, I want to say norm or comfortability factor for me. Now this right here is the knife that I currently make. This is the Mark I Scout. This is a 154 cm. It has a green canvas micarta handle. It is a full tang knife. It has a saber grind. It has a 5-inch blade with a 5-inch handle. I make Kydex sheets for it. It fits great. I don't know if you've seen some of my videos, but I always have something like this on my side if I'm either hiking or trekking. Has a belt clip. Now these are available on the website, and I'm done trying to sell this knife to you guys. So if you don't want this knife, don't worry. There are many others to choose from. Go to their respective websites and you can purchase them from them. But ideally for me, this is 3/16 inch thick. Some people like them a little thinner. Some people like them a little thicker. I like a robust knife for me because I don't know what tasks I'm going to run into. Now, when I say tasks, I'm not talking about taking down dinosaurs or a grizzly bear with this, although if that's all you had, I'm pretty sure you would use it. But I know, in my own opinion and in my own right, making fire sticks, making fires, camp chores, that kind of thing, this knife works excellent. I've been on many hiking trips and hunting trips with just this knife. I didn't bring a pocket knife, I didn't bring anything else, and it did every single chore I asked it to do. Some of the knives you see here, I took the sheaths off of them, so I'm going to have to try to handle with care because I am using a leather preserver for them. Some of the knives I take out into the field and test regularly, and some of them they're just pretty to look at. Now, mostly the Bark River. If you are familiar with Bark River, you understand that these knives are gorgeous. They're highly prized, very expensive. They're probably, well, I wouldn't say very expensive. Most of the ones that are made out of A2 steel are relatively affordable. When you start getting into the 3Vs, that kind of thing, it gets a little bit more expensive. But this knife right here is, I don't know the names of all the knives, so I apologize, but this is a great knife for a skinner or, again, some type of belt knife. It's a little bit smaller. The blade on this is probably about 4 inches, I want to say, maybe 3, and this might be a little bit small for me. Now, I have extra large hands, so it does kind of eat up the blade, but if you're looking for something light and small, that might work for you. Now, this, on the other hand, is a Bark River, and I like the orange and black G10, and I like the way they did it. This is a little bit better for me because I have large hands. You can see the handle doesn't disappear, as it does here. Okay, so here I have pretty much the whole handle, and on this one you can see some of the handle. And what I like about that is the ergonomics. This happens to come in a little bit thinner. I think it's 5/32, has a 4, almost 5-inch blade, so I like that. The thing about Bark River knives is that although they're gorgeous, and this one happens to be made out of 3V, so that was a little bit more expensive, they do come with a leather sheath, which is awesome, but the sheath needs to be taken care of. I'm not a big fan of, and I know someone's going to go crazy about this, but I am not a big fan of the convex grind when it comes to sharpening. I am a big fan of the convex grind when it comes to field use. The idea behind it is that it starts at a thin edge and then it slowly, gradually bevels out. Very awesome for cutting, whittling, any type of thing like that. When you're in the field, pain in the ass to sharpen. Now I know it is honing rods that you can get, and I know people use mouse pads, but I'm not bringing all that crap out to the field with me. I'm going to bring a stone. One sharpening stone, one knife, one axe, one saw. That's it. So if I bring those out into the field, I don't want to bring all this stuff with that type of... Now, I think, ideally, that if you are going to go out into the field, you're not going to live there. Okay, most people will not live there. This happens to be another version of Bark River knives. I forget the name of it, but I do like this sweep here. It's really nice because you can actually get a little bit of swing to it, which is great. But a great belt knife. I know that on most Bark River knives they have, this is called a, this is the lanyard loop, but then you could put a leather thong on there if you wanted to, whatever. On a knife this small, you don't really need a lanyard, but to each his own. Excellent blade, love Bark River knives, and I highly recommend them. Again, like I said, you don't have to buy knives from me, but I like that style of knife. And as you can see, as I'm moving along here, you can tell, this happens to be Blind Horse knives, and it is a carbon steel tool. This happens to have a flat saber, I believe. I would call it a flat saber with a secondary edge. And this to me is a more practical type of knife. Now this knife is not too heavy. The handle is a little bit thin for me, but I do like the style of handle with the rounded edge. This type of knife, carbon steel, excellent. I do like that it has the, I guess the forged type of, I want to say coloring on there. He does have a nice stamp on there. Again, custom knife maker, excellent blades. Again, the size of the knife makes everything to me. This is a Habelis bush tool. Habelis bush tool, excellent blade. I can't remember the name of this. This has a Scandi grind on it. I think it is 3/16 inch thick. Carbon steel. It is blued, so you don't have to worry about rusting in the field. It does have a bow trivet, and of course you could have lanyard holes in case you want to make it into a spear. This comes with an excellent sheath. It is a leather sheath, and I think ideally this is a great knife. I'm a big fan of the ergonomics on this knife. It's not overly big. It does come with a 5-inch blade. This little hump right here fits excellent in my hand. It is a little bit smaller than I would like. I would like a thicker handle, but ideally this is a great little belt knife. Big fan of that. I don't want to leave Tops out because Tops makes some great knives. This is, I think, Tex Creek XL. Excellent knife. The blade is probably about 6 inches long. It's a little bit bigger. It does have some rounded jimping up here. Lanyard, this is a full 1/4 inch or 5/16 lanyard in the back. I think the scales are removable. Pretty decent knife. The only thing, again, that I don't like is that the very, very thin handle. Now, I keep saying that, but this is a comfortable knife to use. I think it has enough length on it, so if you wanted to chop down saplings or make firewood, you could. And ideally, this is a good knife with the leather sheath. It comes in a great package, but I just don't like the handle being that thin. Moving on, we got some FORKMAN. If you are a fan of FORKMAN knives, these are great. I think this is the F1 series. I hate the sheets that FORKMAN has. If you're not familiar, FORKMAN, I think, is a Swedish company, and it is VG10. So it's a laminated steel. And what happens is they make the blade steel in Japan, and then they ship it into Sweden, wherever FORKMAN is made, and then they put the handle, the craton, and all that stuff, and they put it together and they ship it to you. Very expensive knives, but outstanding quality. This rubber type of grippiness works excellent in the field. If you want the smaller version, this is considered the backpacking version. It has a 3-inch blade, so it's a little bit small, a little bit lighter, and again, I hate the sheath, but that's what you get when you get these knives. It's supposed to be like a backpacking knife, and you can get the A1, which I have here. This is the A1 style, which is considered a little bit more robust. Very large blades, about a 6-inch blade. It's same type of steel. It is sandwiched VG10. It does have the convex grind on it, and it's more of a survival knife. Same grippiness on it. Does have the guard for the finger. You can pommel strike in the back if you need to get some work done in the field. What I like about the FORKMAN knives is they have outstanding customer service, and these are very expensive knives, so be aware that these are not cheap knives. Moving on with the other FORKMAN, this is more of a woodsman knife. Leather stacked handle, high polished steel. The only thing I don't like about this, again, is this damn sheath. Now I know it's one of those things where it's not a big deal. You can buy aftermarket sheaths for it, but for me, if I'm spending $300–400 on a knife, make a sheath that works for me, please. Again, VG10. This is a series knife, so there are larger numbers, and I think they named it after the Norse gods, that type of thing. Very super sharp knife, but again, I don't know whose belt would fit in that. That's like not even a 1-inch belt. So to carry this on a belt is very difficult, which is why I don't even carry it that much. I think you need a good leather sheath, and of course you can get aftermarket stuff. All right. Moving on, this is, again, really nice. This used to be blind horse knives. This is the PSK1 from Dave Canterbury. This is Dave Canterbury's design. And I think he kind of hit it on the head when he made this knife, because there are other versions of this that he made, but this is ideal. This is a 5-inch knife, carbon steel, 5-inch handle, large landed hoop. The jimping on the back is moderate, which is nice, so it doesn't rip up your hands. It has a Scandi grind. Very easy to sharpen, good field knife. The only thing is it's not coated, so if you do go into the field, make sure that you bring something to oil it with. Canvas, micarta handles, round, and look how thick that is. I mean, that's just outstanding. That's like a broom handle right there. You could feel that, considering, you know, Bark River, right? Pretty decent. But if you go into some of these, like look at the size handle difference on these knives. Okay, and I'm not picking on anybody, because this is subjective to the person's handle or the person's hand. This knife fits awesome in my hand. I could do a lot of work, and you don't want to get fatigued on the trail, and that's what happens, is that, you know, you're tired, you've been working all day, and you just want something that just kind of fits in your hand. There's no finger grooves or anything crazy like that. The sheath is excellent. It has a lock up here. It's part leather and part Kydex, which I'm a big fan. You could lock the blade in by sliding this up and down. Has a fire steel loop. Excellent, excellent blade. Again, expensive. So if those knives are very expensive, you don't want to lose them. This is very common. This is the Brothers of Bushcraft. Excellent belt knife. It has the divots. Nice medium-sized handle. Very excellent. The grind is not Scandi. It is more of a saber grind, which I'm a big fan of. Now, I have nothing against Scandi grinds. I think that Scandi grinds have their place in fieldcraft and bushcraft and all that other great stuff, but it's not the utility grind. Okay, it's very specific. It's good for splitting wood, chopping wood, that kind of thing. Not so good for everything else. But this is an excellent made knife. If you want something that's made with Kydex, I know that they're coming out with a folding version of this, so top's good on you. It does come with the little fire steel attachment, has magnesium bars, and also a striker. So that's really cool. This is an excellent package for the price. You really can't go wrong. This is a Condor Kephart, I think it's called. This is probably one of the simplest, cheapest, and I mean cheapest, but more affordable type of knife that you can get. Simple design, comes with a little leather sheath, made by Condor. Condor most likely uses like 1075, and they coat their blades. If you want something simple to use, this has a flat grind with a beveled edge on it. And it doesn't get any easier than that. It's a very, very simple design. It's very lightweight. I mean, this thing weighs absolutely nothing. Now, I know someone's going to say something about the Bushlore. The Bushlore is their version of, I guess, the Bushcraft knife. But what I'm talking about here is a belt knife. And you can certainly use the Bushlore for that. This happens to be the LT Wright version. Again, this is a Bushcraft knife. And that's what I'm talking about, that Scandi grind. I think this is called the Genesis. The Genesis is really nice because it comes with a fire steel, and it also comes with a ceramic honing rod, kydex, and leather on the back. So if you wanted one knife that pretty much does everything, this is an excellent knife. And you can see that the handle on this is very, very robust. It's even more robust than a Dave Canterbury knife. Alright, so this is a huge, like, broom handle style knife, and of course this is only a 1/8 inch thick knife. It's not very heavy, it's not heavy duty, but I appreciate this more than some other knives, and I'll get into that in a minute. Okay, I don't want to leave out my Rowan or SE knives. This happens to be a 6-inch knife. This comes with a molded plastic sheath. It is retention, has retention on it, and of course I just threw on one of these belt clips. But just to be fair and to be honest, I think SE makes excellent products. I'm a big fan of it. If you want a 6-inch knife, something with a little more robust, a little heft to it, it's pretty decent to have the 6-inch. I also have back here the more classically known 5-inch, which is the SE5, and you can see this is a 1/4 of an inch thick. The handle is very stout. It is a saber grind with a V edge on it, and this is the knife you could probably bet your knife on. It does have the lanyard hole or breaker in the back. I mean, this is a very stout knife, and that's one of those things that you're going to have to be okay with, is the fact that if you are going to wear this belt knife every single day out in the field, you have to understand weight is a consideration, also depending on what else you are carrying. Now, this belt, you can get the little pocket and survival tin that comes with it. I just put it on, and you can see it's a little bit beat up, but again, it's adding more and more weight. This has the Condor sheath, and what's cool about this is you can do many things with this. Like, this is an all-in-one type of survival knife where you can really strap this sucker down, hide it, you know, make sure that it's not going anywhere. You can strap it onto your MOLLE system. It has belt loops. This is the all-in-one type of survival knife. But again, if weight's a factor, it's one of those things where you have to really understand that it's going to be very big, it's going to be bulky and very heavy. This right here, this whole package is a couple pounds, versus if you went something, you know, something like this, which is very lightweight, or even an SE6 that doesn't even have all that stuff. If you wanted to go even smaller, and I highly recommend this knife, is the SE4. SE4 is an excellent made knife. It is a little bit thin handled, but I gotta tell you, it's carbon steel. It has a nice flat grind on it. The retention on the sheath is excellent. It also comes with the belt clip, and you could pretty much take this anywhere and it's not going to fall out. There's no problem here. Excellent knife overall, and I just want to give you a comparison to the Bark River. It's almost the same. Okay, if you think about it, it's almost the same knife. Now, Bark River is going to be a little bit more expensive because of the manufacturing and the way they do it, but an SE4 is, in my opinion, probably one of the nicest knives on this table, obviously, other than my own personal knife, which I like very much. This is the Bushcraft from Spyderco, and again, I don't know if you can see that, but you can see the very robust handle on that. The blade is only 4 inches, and it comes with this really nice leather sheath. Alright, again, this is some type of a friction sheath there, and of course it's got eyelets So if you wanted to strap it to your pack or strap another knife to it, you could. Very sharp out of the box. I like this knife. It is made out of 01 tool steel. The things that I don't like about it, honestly, is that it's a very small blade with a very large handle. Now, if this blade came with an extra inch, I'd probably appreciate it a little bit more. But I think for the amount of money that you spent on this knife, you can get any one of these knives for probably half the cost, and it would do just as good. That's not a gig on Spyderco, because I do like Spyderco knives, but this Bushcraft knife is very expensive. I want to get a little bit more into some customs. This is, I think, yeah, what the hell is this? Winkler knife 2. Okay, this is a Winkler knife 2. Now, Winkler, I hope I'm saying it right. He mostly uses 5160. He hand forges most of his knives and then he grinds them out. This is an excellent knife. You've probably seen him on a couple of movies. Most of his knives show up. They're very traditional Native American colonial type of style knives that he uses. He uses a sweeping edge, likes the drop point, and the handles are pretty reminiscent about that time. The sheet that he has is a friction sheet that you can either put there 4 ways. You can wear it up and down, sideways, the smaller your back, whatever it is. Comes with all that hardware, and again has great retention. Now this knife is not that thick. It's probably started as a 3/16 stock, and he kind of drilled it down, beat it up, that kind of thing. There's no sharpening notch on this, but ideally this is the type of knife that I like. It has enough handle where I can get my hand around it. It has a nice 5-inch blade. It is a carbon steel. Even if you have to coat it, it's still carbon steel. That's fine. And it's excellent. Very flat grind, so ultimately outstanding knife for the price. Alright, this is another custom knife. I don't have the maker's name, which was ideally a Hunter. He called it a Hunter. This is made by a blacksmith shop that I got, I think, at Medieval Times. It was just laying there, a bunch of his stuff, and we started haggling over price. It is forged with a hammer, as you can see. The bevels are not exactly correct, well, or symmetrical. They are for what it is. You beat it with a hammer. He did some type of acid etching. This is rosewood handle, so it has a nice big belly on it. And there's some things that I probably would improve in my own right. I think it's not exactly 100% straight. It might have a little curve in there, but this is an excellent knife, and I've worn this many a times out into the field and out into the bush. My biggest complaint about this knife is that the handle doesn't go all the way up to the notch right here. So if you have to choke up on it, there's nothing really to hold on to. It's a big swell of a handle, which is nice and comfortable back here, but there's nothing up to the ricasso of the edge. So I would have made the handle either a little bit bigger or chopped off some of the handle and made the blade a little bit longer. But that's my own preference. Again, this was made in a blacksmith shop. I'm not the blacksmith. I did get a custom sheath made for it. Okay, oop, I'm dropping everything today. I got a custom sheath made for it. He did this nice pattern design. I asked him to put a little fire steel in there for me. This is kind of hodgepodge together, but it kind of works. It's not the best type of fire steel setup, but it's on there and it won't come out. And I think ideally you should go to your custom knife makers. Being a custom knife maker myself, I know that I appreciate any type of business that I can get. So I don't mind sending people to another custom knife maker if that's what their heart desires. I just say, listen, if you can, just browse my website. Go to 3riverblaze.com. If you like something, let me know. That's it. But ideally, you could see that all these different knife makers make excellent products. Lastly, and in my opinion, probably the worst belt knife, and I know some people are going to get upset about that, is the Mora knife. Now, Mora knives are extremely popular. This is probably the only one that I would recommend. This is the Mora Bushcraft, made in Sweden. It is carbon steel. It is thicker than the other Mora knives. The other Mora knives are thinner. They're not as robust. This is a Light My Fire Mora knife. This one is in stainless steel, and you can absolutely see the thickness in there. Now, what Mora knife has going for it is the price. It's very cheap. They're like $12, $14. This one might be a little bit more expensive because it has a little more steel. The handle on it is very comfortable. I consider Mora knives to be more like fishing knives. Now, I know a lot of people are going to be upset about that. See, I even got one for my wife because she was concerned about the weight. That's the second thing that Mora has going for it, is that these knives are extremely lightweight. They barely weigh a couple of ounces. You can get them in multiple colors if you like. This is the Light My Fire one, where it has the fire steel in the back, and I think Mora has come a long way from the original Mora knife, which was just a wood handle with you know, just a blade thrown in it, and it came with these plastic sheets. Again, I'm not saying that you shouldn't go out and buy a Mora knife, but I think if it was a knife that you had to depend your life on, I would probably go with something a little bit thicker, maybe a little bit more robust. Again, I told you my likes and dislikes. I do like a larger knife. I want at least a 5 or 6 inch blade. I want a nice contoured handle. I want a good sheath, preferably something with either Kydex or leather that I can lock the blade in there and it won't fall out. Those are my preferences. Now, your preferences might be a little bit different. I hope you really appreciated this video. I know I spoke a lot about a lot of different knives and makers, and ideally the decision is going to be yours. The way I make my knives is very simple. I like to make it tough, I like to make it simple, and I like to make it comfortable. Those are the three things that I always incorporate into my knives, and that's what I look for in other knife makers. If the handle's not comfortable, if the sheath is flimsy, if it falls out every time, then it's not for me. Alright guys, that's going to be it for this version of the Summer of Knives, the belt knife. Please go to Three River Blades, check out what I have up there. Take care of each other, stay safe. Thank you.